Welcome to the Max and Drew Show. I'm Max Holtzclaw.
And I'm Drew White.
Welcome back for episode 3 this week, where we're going to bring you a little bit of an NBA, talking about it a little bit of a recap, going over some standings. We'll talk about some college basketball that just started this week. Kind of give you some early season player of the year projections, maybe some possible national championship contenders. And then we'll finally wrap it up with some football predictions for hopefully tomorrow's game, if I can get this uploaded in time, unlike last week.
Yeah, so hopefully that's not the case and we get it up on time for once.
Well, this time we have our third different camera. We originally started with a crappy laptop.
Yep.
Last week we went with an iPad that had technical difficulties all throughout the week.
Yep, very
this time we're going with an actual camera with a tripod.
Third time's the charm.
Hopefully we can get this one down. So, let's get it off the bat. Start off, we're going to talk about some of our best and worst players of the week this week. And let's start things off with your best player of the week.
Alright, my best player of the week is a man I've always feel like has been underrated for most of his career, and that's Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin had a fantastic week, even though he missed one game from the flu, which was a Wednesday night game. He still was putting up high numbers all week for the most part. 30-point performance on Monday, I believe, and then last night he had a 24-point. Actually, they had a stat over like the past 3 or 4 games. He was averaging 28, 29 points a game. And, I mentioned this last week on the show that I believe the Kevin Martin, Kevin Love, K squared, as I might call him, as we like to call him. I think that's a very good combo, mainly because Kevin Love could easily just pass that to Kevin Martin. And what I noticed from the game he played last night is he's not afraid to shoot the ball and someone in his face. So, yeah, it was the key did very good, even though they lost last night. He still put a very good game. And, yeah, I'm looking forward to a very good year from him.
Absolutely. He's definitely playing very well up to high standards this year, alongside Kevin Love and Ricky Rubio.
Yeah, probably his best season, beginning of the season thus far. Better than most of his Houston Rocket days.
Yes, and my hot player of the week, hottest contender of the week, is Aaron Aflalo, leading the way in Orlando. He's been leading his team in scoring this week. I have him on my fantasy team.
Yes.
I'm going to say this, had a 61-point performance over an ESPN Standard League scoring, so that was great. That was great to see. What was it, Wednesday night maybe?
Yes, Wednesday night.
So he's been playing great, leading his team scoring, able to grab the rebounds whenever it's necessary, which is a little surprising because a lot of people are pegging him to miss the starting lineup towards the end of the season, maybe put Oladipo in there.
Yeah. That's the thing. Everyone, as soon as they drafted Oladipo, they're like, oh, they're going to push Aflalo out eventually because, Victor Oladipo's the younger one, and he's pretty much the future of that franchise now.
Right.
It depends on what they want to do with him, because Aflalo plays a shooting guard, small forward role, and Oladipo showed when he was in college that he could thrive, not amazingly, but he could still do a very good job in the point guard role as well as the shooting guard role. So moving forward, it's going to be interesting what they do with those two, because Oladipo has had a good year thus far as well. Yeah. And, it's very good. Maybe Oladipo is giving Aflalo good competition, and maybe that's why Aflalo has been
pushing him a little bit.
Yeah, doing very good thus far.
And even Jameer Nelson at the point guard role has been doing fairly well this year. And it's going to be tough to see how he could fit in. Maybe put Nelson, Oladipo, and Aflalo and all at the same time and take out Harkless or Harris.
Yeah. If Harris plays.
Yeah, if Harris even plays.
Yeah. I know, he was on my fantasy team. It's upsetting.
It's a little bit of a disappointment.
It's upsetting.
So then we're going to go with our fantasy, or not even our fantasy, but just a bust of the week. Some people are just a bit of a downward spiral on a cold streak. Drew, why don't you start it off?
Alright, well, I was going to say Enes Kanter at first, mainly because he had such a hot start to the season, and now he's kind of sizzled down, to maybe what people more expected of him of. However, to me that's just an easy choice, but the even better choice is Josh Smith. Josh Smith has not been doing very well ever since he became a Piston. Got that max deal this offseason, the one he wanted. I don't think he deserves it.
Yeah.
Maybe because he needs to prove it more, but he hasn't been really doing good. A lot of people thought that he'd be the main scorer, but Greg Monroe and Brandon Jennings are doing a lot better than he is. As much as I'm not a fan of Brandon Jennings, he is scoring the ball, even though he's shooting under 40%. So, Josh Smith needs to pick it up a bit,
Yeah.
Because, he loves the jump shot, but he's not very good at it.
Right, he needs to learn to take it down low.
He needs to be like LeBron a bit.
Yeah. And I'm going to have to agree with you. Jay Smoove is my weakest player of the week because, I mean, Tuesday night against the Golden State Warriors, I'm pretty sure he scored single digits in limited amount of minutes because it was such a blowout. So, that was just awful to see.
Yeah, and I'm going to just say this really quickly. When we do this going forward, we're going to be looking for pretty much, we're not going to be going after a bench player who doesn't get much time because, that's just pointless.
Right.
We're going to go after those people that you expect to do good day in and day out and, just maybe be on a bad streak for the most part. We're not going to be picking on the people who probably don't deserve to be on the worst of the worst. And it's going to be the same for the best of the best. However, if a guy off the bench steps up,
you'll definitely see him in this list.
Yes.
Alright, and now we're going to take you to an updated standings list for as of 11/10, Saturday night. I don't know what today is. Do you know the date?
17th? 16th.
There you go. November. We'll take it, start off in the Eastern Conference Southeast Division, where the Miami Heat are in first place at 7-3. Behind them are the Hawks, then the Bobcats, stepping up in the third spot.
Yes,
above the Magic, and then above the Wizards.
All right. So, that's the big question is who's going to be in that third role, because I think it's obvious that it's going to go Heat, Hawks for the most part now. Which one of those bottom three teams are going to step up and maybe get that one of those like 6th or 7th, 8th seeds in the playoffs?
Right. And then in the Atlantic Division we'll go, and still staying in the Eastern Conference, the Philadelphia 76ers are still leading their division at 5-6. The Raptors are at 4-6. The Nets are at 3-5, but they are playing right now against the Clippers.
With only one of their usual starters.
Right.
They're starting lineup with Joe Johnson. D. Wills, Darren Williams is burned his ankle again. For like the 12th time this year. And then I don't know about the other three, maybe because they're old.
Right, and they need a day off.
Yeah.
Need to get their walkers going.
Yeah, especially Paul Pierce.
Then after them, speaking of Paul Pierce, is the Boston Celtics at 4-7, right behind the Nets.
A lot better than what they started out with. They started out like 0-6-ish. Their first one was against the Jazz. We discussed this last week.
They got a 3 or 4 game win streak.
Yeah, they've been doing really good since then, and good for him, good for Brad Stevens. A lot of people thought that it's a rebuilding project, but at least they're showing light there in Boston.
And then finally, in last place are the New York Knicks.
Woo! Yeah.
Which most people peg them as a contender.
Yeah, a lot of people. Well, they're doing with. Melo has came out and said that they're not putting as much effort as he wants them to.
Not meshing well together.
Yeah, not meshing well. Tyson Chandler's out as well. Their main defensive liability is out, so it's a little shaky in Knicks land. So it's going to be interesting how they move forward from here.
And finally, the last division in the Eastern Conference is the Central Division. Leading that are the Indiana Pacers, who just lost tonight, so they're now 9-1. Which I gotta say is still a very good record.
Hey, starting off the year 9-0 is very impressive. And they put a stamp on that. They are legit contenders in this league. If they didn't do it last year, they're showing it right now.
Right.
They lost to a good Bulls team. A lot of people think that they have a shot at the playoffs depending on how D Rose recovers from his injuries. So it just depends. So I'm not gonna blame him for the loss. It was a bit of a blowout, but a loss is a loss. So you're not gonna win every game in the NBA.
Yeah. Behind them are the Chicago Bulls, then the Detroit Pistons, then the Cleveland Cavaliers, and finally the Milwaukee Bucks at 2-6 are in dead last in that division. Moving on from there, we'll go to the Western Conference. In the Northwest Division, leading that are the Portland Trailblazers at 7-2, but really right behind them are the Minnesota Timberwolves at 7-4. And right behind them are the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah.
And not many people saw Trailblazers at number 1, and then Timberwolves, and then Thunder.
Yeah, it's honestly this is gonna be one of the more interesting divisions this year. With K-Square playing the way they are, a lot of people didn't expect this T-Wolves team to be doing very well thus far. Which the issue with is they thought Kevin Love was gonna be having the issues he had last year with the injuries and how he was gonna recover from that. But Kevin Love is making a strong case for maybe being an MVP because he's averaging about 27, 14 rebounds a game. That's stuff that hasn't been done in a long time. So that is incredibly interesting. And with your Portland Trailblazers, even though most of their starters get most of the time, but they're doing good things up there, and it's gonna be interesting to see if they're gonna be able to do good from here on out.
And then even right behind the Thunder are Denver Nuggets at 4-5, right behind the 5-3 Thunder, and then dead last, probably got no chance in this division at all. Is the Utah Jazz at 1-9.
Yeah.
Sorry, you Jazz fans. It's gonna be a rough season.
Yeah, it's gonna be a rough season. They have 2 new front court mates and Derek Favors.
Go for Andrew Wiggins in the draft, though.
Yeah, and Cantor. Yeah, so it's gonna be a tough season. And also, they have 4 teams who have a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. It's gonna be tough in that division.
Next division there. Sorry, Drew.
I was done saying. So
the next division is the Southwest Division, and that is led by the San Antonio Spurs at 9-1. Right behind them are the Houston Rockets at 7-4. Then the Dallas Mavericks at 6-4. The slacking Memphis Grizzlies at 4-5, and then in last place, surprisingly, in my opinion, are the New Orleans Pelicans at 4-6.
Yeah, this one's a lot more closer. You have the Spurs up top at 9-1, kind of
Yeah.
like, but then the rest of it is relatively close.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of those divisions that all 5 teams could make the playoffs. You know, the Pelicans is a young team; they have no additions there, but
Right.
you know, it's not a bad team. They could make the playoffs. You know, if you took 2 of those teams and put them in the Eastern Conference, those 2 teams, they'd make the playoffs. So it's just one of those things where it's a tough division, and you gotta grind it out, or do what the Memphis Grizzlies slogan is. You know what that is?
Grit and grind.
Grit and grind. That's all they do.
But made by the grind father himself, Tony Allen.
Gosh, okay, just move on.
All right, and finally, in the last division, the Pacific Division, we have the LA Clippers at 6-3, who are playing right now, even. So that could move them up to first by themselves or second, depending on how they do. Because right next to them, or tied for first, are the Golden State Warriors at 6-3. The Phoenix Suns are right behind them at 5-4. Who saw that coming? I certainly didn't.
No one did. That Miles Plumlee started. Who thought? Who thought that was gonna happen?
And then even pretty close behind them, the LA Lakers are at 4-7, and then in last place are the Sacramento Kings at 2-6.
Yeah, you know, you have the bottom 2 teams that you expect not to do that good this year, the Lakers. But you know, the Phoenix. As much as I'm not really a big Phoenix fan, but you know, I have nothing against them. It's good that they're showing light because they thought this was going to be one of those teams that were tanking this year because they have like 12 first. It's not 12, but they have like a lot of first round draft picks this year.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting what they do from here. I've said this like 4 times already, but from here on out.
Right.
But you know, they're not going to be able to. To me, they're not going to be able to keep this level of play up, especially if Miles Plumlee in the starting lineup and PJ Tucker. It's a weird lineup.
You never know with Plumlee though.
No.
All right, we're gonna take a quick break. We'll be right back with some college basketball analysis. So stick around, and we'll bring you some college basketball.